Good evening, just in time for Sunday Live. My name is Trevor Ombija, sitting in for Olive Barros and Jeff Koinange. They'll be back next week and the normal shift resumes. Happy New Year, everybody. But for now, Mimi ndio Nico. Here are the top stories tonight.
One unidentified male adult was recovered from the collapsed structure.
Disappointment amid progress. Body recovered from South Sea site of collapsed building.
We have directed the regulator, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council to do a thorough investigation on those medical practitioners.
Be warned about miracle healers. Health CS and Medical Practitioners Council probe medics who took part in Nakuru's purported healing crusade. Altercation in Kilimani. Drama's MCA Robert Alai draws gun on MP Babu Owino at a Nairobi restaurant.
We will start with the big men. Those of you who are doing good business on the front and behind the scenes you are doing illicit business, I am sorry. We will not stop at anything.
Campaign against drugs and alcoholism. Government mulls change of laws and creating an enhanced police unit. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Liz Otieno. Now, one body has been recovered from the rubble of a 14-story building that collapsed in South Sea, Nairobi on Friday. The body of the security guard was discovered on Sunday at around 1 p.m. following an intensive 60-hour non-stop search operation by a multi-agency team comprising of KDF, police, and the National Disaster Management Unit, among other agencies as well. Public Service and Special Programs Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku says that the search operation is now at 70% with a focus on the other missing security guard right now. So the Director of Public Prosecution has directed the police to probe the incident. Gatete Njoroge has the details.
On the third day of the search and rescue mission in South Sea, Nairobi, the focus shifted to this particular corner of the collapsed building. The search and rescue team comprising of KDF, Police, National Disaster Management Unit, and firefighters from Nairobi and Kiambu County camped in this area. Specialized equipment was moved to the area following reports of possible location of one of the security guards. Between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m., all efforts were dedicated to getting closer to the position where there was human presence. At 2 p.m., the team finally accessed the site, only to find a lifeless body.
One unidentified male adult was recovered from the collapsed structure. The necessary procedures, including identification and further processing by the relevant authorities, are currently underway, in line with the established protocols.
With the recovery, the body was put in one of the ambulances and taken to Nairobi Funeral Home. CS Rocco says by the time of the discovery, the operation was at 70%, with efforts now dedicated to searching for the other guard, believed to be trapped in the basement parking.
Tomorrow morning, we will be able to tell Kenyans the exact cause of the collapse of this building from the analysis which will have been conducted by National Construction Authority as well as the State Department of Public Works.
Family members and leaders at the scene called for more concerted efforts in the search and rescue mission and called for tough action on those culpable.
Kazi wamefanya, lakini tunaomba bado waongeze nguvu. Bado waongeze nguvu, waende haraka, maybe wa vijana tupate leo jioni sio kesho. Tunaomba waongeze nguvu.
Has there been anybody arrested? Our courts should also look into this. Our DCI should also look into this. Because it's not enough to come and say heads are going to roll, people are going to be arrested, and then nothing happens.
While defending the county government of Nairobi, which has been on the spot, Governor Johnson Sakaja says counties are tied as they lack prosecutorial powers in dealing with rogue developers, an issue that needs to be reviewed.
The developer applied properly. They applied, the approval was issued. Then applied for, I think, 12 floors. They later reviewed that application. We'll give you those entire documents. There's a time where there was an infraction where we charged them because of not allowing inspection to happen, etc. That is a challenge we have when the person to charge is the ODPP, or somebody else. And this is one of those cases where even charges were dropped, that we had taken them, and the charges were dropped.
The Director of Public Prosecutions has this evening in a press statement directed the police to expedite investigations into the circumstances surrounding the incident and submit a report within 7 days. The DPP wants police to record statements from the developer, contractor, persons responsible for the relevant building and construction approvals, inspections and enforcement. So far, detectives probing the case have recorded statements from 2 owners of the building. Following the discovery of the body of one of the security guards, the search and rescue mission continues, with the next focus being investigations and prosecution of those found culpable. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, South Sea, Nairobi.
Away from that, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council has warned that it will take firm action against any health practitioner found to have endorsed or participated in unverified claims of faith-based healing during a recent religious crusade in Nakuru. The council says it is concerned that some licensed medical practitioners appeared to support claims that serious illnesses including cancer and HIV and AIDS were miraculously cured during a crusade led by preacher David Owuor in Nakuru. As Emily Chebet now reports, Health Cabinet Secretary Adan Duale maintains that matters of health and life must remain firmly grounded in science, ethics, and evidence-based medicine.
A two-day crusade led by preacher David Owuor that saw a number of Kenyans purported to have been healed from different illnesses paraded has raised questions on the role of medical practitioners who were present in the NDA crusade in Nakuru.
My name is Elijah Ochieng. I'm a senior clinician from Siaya.
My name is Dr. Lerionka Albert. I am a consultant eye surgeon. My name is Dr. Erimoy Kibet. From Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. My name is Dr. John Mureithi. I'm a consultant general surgeon.
The preacher paraded a number of people who he claimed were HIV positive, but had since been declared HIV-free courtesy of miracles performed by him. The preacher also claimed to have cured other chronic illnesses.
Tunabari moto moto. HIV has been deleted.
Health Cabinet Secretary Adan Duale says even as the ministry recognizes the role of spiritual nourishment in the lives of citizens, matters of health and life must be scientifically proven.
We have directed the regulator, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, to do a thorough investigation on those medical practitioners. If they cannot verify scientifically, we will be forced to cancel their license.
CS Duale said preacher Owuor, who is also a licensed doctor by KMPDC, will be investigated together with other medics seen backing Owuor's miraculous healing claims.
As a practicing licensed practitioner, you cannot make unsubstantiated, unverifiable, scientifically, clinically untested.
Ukiona pale binadamu ameabudiwa, anaoshwa mkono, anaoshwa miguu, anaoshewa barabara, hiyo barabara ni barabara ya kuelekea kwa shetani.
In a statement, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council has warned that unverified medical claims, especially by health professionals, may mislead vulnerable individuals and deter them from seeking proven therapies, potentially leading to worsened health outcomes, drug resistance or loss of life. According to KMPDC, claims of healing for chronic or life-threatening conditions such as HIV and AIDS or cancer require verifiable medical documentation and cannot be accepted without independent verification by qualified healthcare professionals. The council has strongly advised the public against abandoning prescribed medical treatments for HIV and AIDS, diabetes, hypertension, epilepsy and other chronic conditions in favor of unproven alternatives, saying such actions contradict established public health guidelines. Using his official X account, Preacher Owuor has defended his so-called miracle healings, saying there is extensive medical documentation spanning numerous cases, adding that they are calling on the government of Kenya through the Ministry of Health and the KMPDC to conduct a thorough formal investigations of the documented healings.
And I insist that when they have examined, they are using antibodies. Then now we begin testing afresh. We go up to long ELISA, which tests both the kit and the patient.
Citizen TV has since confirmed that 2 doctors who were part of the crusade are under investigation by the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, MTRH. The institution's CEO, Dr. Philip Kirwa, says there is need to determine the role the medics played in the whole issue. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
Now, police are investigating a confrontation between Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino and Kileleshwa Ward MCA Robert Alai that involved the brandishing of a firearm. The altercation happened at a nightclub in Kilimani, with the MP recording a statement with the police accusing the MCA of assaulting him. Ode Francis with the details.
It was a quiet afternoon at a popular restaurant along Lenana Road, where a routine meeting between MP Babu Owino and a senior clergyman had just taken place. He was on his way home when he noticed a table of familiar faces that had leaders and acquaintances among them, including Kileleshwa MCA Robert Alai. He approached to greet the group, but what began as a routine exchange quickly escalated into a scene of chaos.
Then stood next to him, and before I left, there's one of them who said that, you know, Babu, you will be a governor of Nairobi. Then Alai became mad, and from that point, he stood up, pushed me, saying, you cannot be a governor of Nairobi. You sent people to attack my wife on social media.
He says the MCA drew a pistol, cocked it and struck him in the chest before punching him in the jaw. Babu claims he remained composed even as a DCI officer at the scene intervened and disarmed Alai. Attempts to amicably settle the matter at the scene did not end well. Owino says the MCA slashed water on him. The MP later reported the incident at Kilimani police station. Police officers visited the club on Sunday, seeking to establish exactly what happened and recording statements from witnesses.
The MCA, that is Kileleshwa Ward, Alai, had a firearm which was confiscated and currently at Kilimani police station. The report was taken. The 2 politicians appeared before Kilimani police station at the DCI's office, made their statements, and we are here again today to interview the workers of the hotel, the management, with a view of understanding what transpired.
More than 6 individuals have so far recorded statements with the police in connection with the incident. Our attempts to reach Kileleshwa MCA Robert Alai for a comment were unsuccessful. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, 7 families have identified the bodies of their loved ones who perished in a road accident on Friday night at the Katumani area along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. The grieving families spoke of the pain of losing their relatives in the tragic crash. As Citizen TV's Miriam Nyambura reports, 1 patient is still admitted in hospital.
At the Machakos County Referral Hospital morgue, grief-stricken families camped on Sunday as the identification of bodies entered its 2nd day. Evelyn Jerry, who lost her husband Dickson Gakure, recalls how she received the devastating news.
Alipata accident akienda Mombasa job. Niliambiwa na brothers zake na wao walipigiwa simu kutoka police station Salama.
Ni hiyo bilagu madereva wakuwe waangalifu wa barabara sana, na hiyo gari sababu ni dereva anapeleka gasiri, hiyo gari inajipeleka, akuwe mwangalifu kwa barabara sana.
Dixon's employer, who narrates how he got news of the demise, described him as a dedicated worker.
Nimefanya na yeye for over 10 years. Amekuwa akinifanyia kazi for 10 years. So he's a dedicated guy. He's an honest fundi. So I cannot complain, and I'm very sorry for the family for the loss.
So far, only one family is yet to identify the body of their loved one, while one survivor continues to receive treatment at the Machakos County Referral Hospital.
Kwa sasa relatives wote wamekuja wameconfirm mili yao, 7 of them.
We have one who's waiting for a surgical procedure that's due in the next 1 hour. He had a blunt abdominal trauma that is going to be opened up, and then we look for the bleeders. He has an internal bleeding.
Though Meshak Mutua is still admitted, he counts himself lucky to have survived.
Kulingana na saidi yangu kutoka juzi, madaktari wamefanya juhudi sana kufanya investigation. Kulingana vile naendelea, saa hii wamekuja kugundua kuna internal bleeding.
The accident, which involved a 14-seater matatu belonging to Naikana Sacco and a bus belonging to Tahmid Bus Company, claimed 8 lives along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. Marian Nyambura, Citizen TV.
Well, our deepest condolences to all those who lost their loved ones in the tragic road crash. Now, the executive is now proposing harsh penalties on those found trafficking hard drugs such as cocaine and heroin, with President William Ruto saying that the law, as it is not punitive enough to deal with drug and alcohol abuse. As it stands, 3.2 million Kenyans are alcohol users, with the government maintaining that the statistics could delay the country's journey to the first world status. Our political affairs reporter Emmanuel To had a sit-down with Interior and National Administration Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, who elaborated the government's plan to deal with the menace, which has been termed as a health, security and economic future risk.
His New Year message was specific on the biggest hurdle yet to the ambitious 5 trillion shilling journey to Singapore. President William Ruto enumerating the grim statistics of the extent of drug, alcohol and substance abuse in the country, which he said had become a national emergency, stagnating the economic growth of the nation. And as part of the measures to tackle the pandemic, the president has a rather radical proposal which could see culprits hit with a maximum sentence.
Watu wa kuuza madawa ya kulevya, heroin, cocaine, mtu kama huyo anaenda kunyongwa.
In an exclusive interview with Citizen TV, Interior National Administration CS Kipchumba Murkomen also made a case for the change of law, drawing parallels with how other first-class countries are dealing with the menace.
Eastern country, whether it is Philippines, Malaysia, China, and the like, drugs attract death penalty, and people are hanged for trafficking and selling drugs. We cannot achieve our first world status while the most productive generation is being wiped out by drugs and alcohol.
Murkomen stating that the current judicial system does little to deter criminals, as many walk away with a slap on the wrist.
The fines are so so low that it encourages those people, they are ready to continue selling the illicit alcohol or adulterated ethanol, among others, without the fear of the consequence, because they know they can pay the fines and they get greater profits.
The government plans to revamp the capacity of the anti-narcotics unit within the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, with its expertise expected to match that of the anti-terrorism police unit.
Immediately from Monday next week, I'll be holding a meeting with the IG to look at the ways we can support the National Police Service in establishing that narcotic unit. Remember, that's a unit within the police. Why Kenyans would support this fight is that nearly every family has a person who is addicted.
The ministry will then begin enhanced crackdown targeted at drug barons and those dealing in illicit alcohol.
We will start with the big men. We want to start with the big men. Those of you who are doing good business on the front and behind the scenes you are doing illicit business, I am sorry. We will not stop at anything. We will do everything possible to ensure that you are smoked out.
The CS saying traffickers have, however, advanced their tricks to ensure long-term addiction and especially focus on youth from well-off family who sustain use. 1 in every 6 Kenyans aged between 15 and 65, that is over 4.7 million people, are currently using at least one drug or substance of abuse. The burden falls heaviest on men and young people. 1 in every 3 Kenyan men in this age group uses drugs or alcohol. Among young adults aged 25 to 35, 1 in 5 is affected. Alcohol remains the most widely used substance with more than 3.2 million current users. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has trashed President William Ruto's ambition to transform the country from its current third world status to the league of the world's most elite nations, citing the crippling of the country's most critical sectors as a hindrance. Gachagua, who launched yet another scathing attack on his former boss on Sunday, has threatened to wash the president's dirty linen in public if attacks on retired President Uhuru Kenyatta do not stop.
Sunday's service at the AIPCA Keratina in Githunguri constituency, Kiambu County, provided yet another platform for DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua to tear into his former boss's ambitions, days after the president reiterated his resolve to lead the country into first world status from this year.
Hii mtu anatubeba ufala. It's a lie. Na tunakuambia William Ruto tukiwa hapa mlimani. Watu ya mlima wanakuambia hapa Kiambu, kabla utupeleke Singapore, kwanza malizana mambo ya bottom up. Ulisema utatuweka pesa kwa mfuko. Ile kidogo tulikuwa nayo ukatoa.
Gachagua says the head of state has departed from the reality that faces Kenyans, dismissing President Ruto's dream of transforming the country to a status such as that of Singapore. He says the ambition would be realistic if government systems worked for the citizenry.
Ulikuja ukakuta masomo ya Kibaki inafanya kazi, ukaharibu. Tengeneza masomo ndio utupeleke Singapore. Ulikuja ukakuta NHIF inafanya kazi, ukatoa ukalete mnyama anaitwa SHA. Ondoa hiyo mnyama, urudishe NHIF ndio utuambie mambo ya Singapore. We are not fools.
It is on this podium that the DCP leader also took issue with continued attacks on former President Uhuru Kenyatta by leaders under the broad-based arrangement who he believes are under the president's orders. Kenyatta has been accused of being behind the turbulence in the Orange Democratic Movement ODM.
If this onslaught on Uhuru Kenyatta continues, I'll have no choice now but to address you, William Ruto. Na nitakuanika sasa. Mimi nakujua sana. Si ndio? I've also been decent. Natajataja tu ile ya juju. Niko na ile ya ndani.
And as he moves to popularize his DCP party ahead of the August 2027 polls, the former DP cautioned Kenyans against polls that continue to show that Kenya Kwanza's popularity is on the rise, dismissing them as being sponsored by an already panicked regime.
UDA ndio iko 5%, DCP iko 28, anapindua. Those are fake opinion polls. Au watu ya Infotrack. For many years walisema Raila atashinda. Aliwahi shinda. Iko ingine inaitwa Tifa. These are fake opinion polls ambayo imewekwa na Kasongo. Na mimi nashindwa wanapigia nani simu? Walipigia nyinyi simu? Walikuja kumuuliza? They are fake things inafanywa kwa kompyuta.
Kama Mwangi, Citizen TV.
Now, President William Ruto has dismissed the opposition as lacking both a track record and a clear plan to move the country forward. He says the attempts to rally Kenyans are built on criticism rather than a solid development blueprint. Speaking in Chesumbur in West Pokot County, the president urged Kenyans to choose wisely and avoid being swayed by what he termed as empty rhetoric. Melita Oletenges has the details.
President William Ruto has once again challenged the opposition to clearly outline their agenda for Kenyans, insisting their statements remain vague and largely focused on attacking the government rather than offering solutions. The latest remarks came during an interdenominational service in Chesombur, West Pokot County.
Mimi niko tayari with my track record, with my agenda and a plan, and I also know where to find the money to achieve the plan I have for this country. Nyinyi kujeni na yenu.
The president reiterated that his administration's priorities include improving infrastructure, expanding power supply, and boosting agriculture. However, he emphasized that development can only be achieved through peace, education, and Kenyans placing national interests above personal gain. He called on residents of West Pokot to embrace stability and lasting peace in the region.
Mimi nafurahi sasa sehemu hii mambo ya stock theft imeisha. Mimi sasa nawaambia hii Januari tunauza hisa ya kampuni ya Kenya Pipeline. Kujeni sasa mununue shares ile stock exchange.
President Ruto also issued a stern warning to civilians in possession of illegal firearms, directing them to surrender their weapons to the police or religious leaders, warning that the government will not tolerate firearms in the wrong hands.
Kila mtu mwenye bado wako na bunduki, na wewe si polisi, na uko na bunduki kwako, my friend, please, harakisha. Lete bunduki, patia kwa bishop, patia kwa polisi. Usipofanya hivyo, we are going to come for it. Tutakuja kuchukua hiyo bunduki. Na tukikuja kuchukua hiyo bunduki, utakipata.
The president later inspected ongoing construction works on the Barpelo-Tot Marich Pass Road, noting that 15 billion has been allocated for the project. He said 2 contractors are currently on site, handling the Barpelo-Tot section and the Tot-Chesagon-Kibasi River stretch. Melita Olitinges, Citizen TV.
All right, on that note, let's take a quick break here on Sunday Live. We're back with much more in just a short while, including... Welcome back. So, it was born out of a crisis, a government under pressure, empty coffers and contractors pushed to the brink. As the country struggled with insurmountable public debt and pending bills running into hundreds of billions, the state turned to an unconventional solution, selling future revenues to raise cash today. Tonight, we take you inside the high-stakes gamble to keep road projects moving and the tough policy choices behind it. Here now is Jasmine Wamboy.
As a business reporter, one of the biggest stories for me this year was about the securitization of the Road Maintenance Levy Fund. Big because of how polarizing and divisive it was. On one hand, we have contractors and suppliers saying, please pay us, we've been waiting endlessly. And then on the other hand, we have a section of Kenyans asking, what does this mean for the government balance sheet? What does it mean for national debt? Are we mortgaging our country away? But first, let's understand how we got here. It is June of 2024. The country is in disarray. Young people are out in the streets demonstrating against what they feel is a punitive finance bill. The president, under immense pressure, withdraws it and then days later fires his entire cabinet.
We will unlock the potential of our country.
When he reconstituted it, it is Davis Churchill who was thrown into the troubled roads sector. It is the same man the president had relied on in 2023 to manage the fuel and dollar shortage crisis, a task that culminated in the government-to-government fuel importation deal.
I came into this office on a Thursday, August 2024, after being sworn in.
he would find a sector that was reeling from the complex problem of pending bills. Over 175 billion shillings was owed to road contractors, having accumulated over the past 6 to 7 years. It was an impossible problem to solve. And remember, Churchill was not used to petitioning the exchequer for cash. Where he'd come from in the energy sector, the agencies there make money in the billions. Think Kengen, who just this year made 10 billion shillings, or KPLC, who recently made over 30 billion shillings. The road sector is different. It is very, very capital intensive, and yet it makes this much money.
And so when I came here, I found a sector where we need to be at the Treasury to look for funding to fulfill obligations.
The Treasury allocates about 60 billion shillings to a sector that says it needs over 400 billion shillings each year. He had a mountain to climb, and the pending bills were a pebble in his shoe.
It's been very, very sometimes traumatizing, because a contractor comes, the children come to visit you to seek for payments because the parents, an extreme case, the father would be in ICU. And from that road contractor that we think they make money, they are unable to pay their bills.
In even worse cases, families of contractors and suppliers had reported cases of suicides as these people came under pressure from their lenders. Now, this was coming after we had heard time and again that contractors and suppliers were shutting down their businesses completely. At one point, headlines described doing business with the government here in Kenya as one of 1,000 ways to die.
I was tasked to basically look for innovative ways of raising money. And the cash could not really come by depriving school capitation or depriving the public health sector.
And borrowing was also off the table.
We all know that the global financial institutions, the IMF and the World Bank, have been very, very observant and monitoring the amount of debt that third world countries incur. And they've put some kind of limits on debts on Kenya and similar third world countries based on the GDP that we produce.
So securitization of the road maintenance levy fund became one of the few viable options. But the idea had been tried time and again unsuccessfully.
The question is the mechanics, how to go through securitization. What is the process that gets everybody comfortable? Is World Bank happy? Is IMF happy? Is the National Treasury happy? Are you involving everybody? Is Central Bank happy?
Put simply, securitization is a sale of all or a portion of future receivables of income in exchange for money today. In this case, the government sold 7 out of the 25 shillings collected per litre of fuel for road maintenance.
So we do not owe this person money. What we do is the person has committed to collect this money in future.
This transaction raised the 175 billion shillings needed to clear all pending bills in the roads sector. And the government now says that all pending bills in the road sector have been paid. But you might have heard that the government wants to securitize an additional 5 shillings out of the remaining 18 shillings in the levy and wondered why.
So the 7 shillings was to pay existing pending bills. Contractors have resumed work, and as they work, they're going to issue new certificates of work completed. This is why we're securitizing an additional 5 shillings. The 5 shillings is being securitized to raise 120 billion shillings. These funds are adequate to complete all the ongoing projects by the year 2027. The plan is to receive 60 billion in the current financial year of the 120 billion, and the other 60 billion in financial year 26-27. So as certificates fall due for payment, we will have funds available to see that they're all paid up to completion of these road projects.
You are using these 18 shillings on Maram roads, which is not helping this economy. And a lot of it is eaten agreement between contractors and politicians and people, the regional managers of roads. We know it.
And the government insists securitization, unlike public debt, does not expose the country to fiscal risk.
We've given a letter of support to say government will support this facility to the extent that if there is a change of law so that the amount was not collectible, only then the risk will come to government. But to the extent that there is no change of law, there is absolutely no fallback to government.
Now, covering this journey of securitization over the last year has been a huge lesson for me on the delicate balance that has to be struck. When leaders are making public policy decisions, they now have to manage between an anxious electorate and a tight as ever fiscal headroom. Now, whether securitization is a sustainable solution or a temporary fix is a question the country will have to confront in the years ahead. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Interesting analysis there by Jasmine Wamboi, and that takes us to a break. We're back with much more in just a short while. Time now for some sporting action. And AFC Leopards surrendered top spot in their opening 2026 FKF Premier League fixture after suffering a 1-0 defeat to Kakamega Homeboys in a tense encounter at Nyayo National Stadium. The decisive moment arrived just 2 minutes into the match when Henry Omolo pounced on a loose ball outside the area and unleashed a thunderous strike that flew past Leopards goalkeeper Humphrey Katasi. Now, the early goal silenced the Leopards faithful and handed over Homeboys a dream start that ultimately shaped the contest. Now, the victory lifted Homeboys to the summit of the league standings with 24 points as AFC Leopards dropped to second place. In another Premier League match played on Sunday, Nairobi United revived their away form with a convincing 3-1 win over Shabana FC at the Gusii Stadium. Now, defending Kenya Premier League champions Police FC have unveiled 3 international players heading to the second round of the 2025-2026 season. The 3 are the Burkina Faso national team striker Kotiama Wes and Junior, who participated in the Chan Championship here in Kenya in August last year. Utility player Malonga Briok Ernest and defender Bowamba Jakes, all from Congo-Brazzaville, the national team. The Police under sub-air coach Dusan are in the 6th position with 22 points, 2 behind leaders Kakamega Homeboys.
From Burkina Faso, that shows that is where our shoe is pinching us hard. And you know, strikers in Africa are hard to find.
Kila timu inaweza ijikimu vizuri ili tuweze kuongeza nguvu ile eneo ambao tunaona kuna upungufu. Kenya Police FC mfungaji bora saizi ana magoli 2. Ndio maana tumeenda mpaka Burkina Faso kumtafuta Ivis Junior.